The number one simplest way to upgrade your home, add efficiency to your life, save money, and reduce stress is to get rid of the clutter in your life. After nearly a decade of living with less in our home and almost 4 years of working in client homes, we have learned exactly what people declutter for the most impact. Today, I'm sharing 26 specific and practical ideas for items you can declutter. If this is the year you want to officially break up with clutter, then this is the video for you. If I had a nickel for every time we opened a box and we were like, this is so random, like, what is this? And then I'm like, wait a second, this isn't random. This is their old kitchen junk drawer, or this is their old office desk drawer, or this is a box that the movers packed and has never been unpacked. Item number one to declutter in 2026 are boxes that haven't been opened since you last moved. If you have anything still sitting in the same spot as when you moved in, maybe this is the year to let it go. These boxes can look chaotic at first, but typically it's pretty standard. A portion of the items get put back into their new homes in the new house, a portion of the items get tossed, and then a portion, if there's any usable things that you don't need, they can just get donated. Or if the box has not been touched in a while, maybe you don't need any of it. Another common one that we find in our own home and client homes is cords that we don't know what they're for. Item number two are cords for things you no longer own. And really, honestly, this can relate to any items that pertain to something you used to own. A specific but funny thing we often come across are car mats for cars we don't own anymore, or curtains or curtain rods for an old house, but they don't fit in the current house. So basically anything you own that relates to something that you don't own anymore. And this one is usually a good one to start with because there's often not too much emotion attached to it. It's usually just something you haven't really noticed in a while. In the majority of houses we work on, we always come across keepsakes. Sometimes they're just randomly throughout the house, or sometimes they are like perfectly packed and beautifully stored in a storage area. But no matter where we find them, we will often have clients ask us things like, do you think I need to keep this? Or should I want to keep this? Or do other people keep this? When it comes to their kids' report cards or their own medals from their gymnastics career when they were 12 years old, or their parents' 10th wedding anniversary photos. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need to keep things that you don't love. Number three are keepsakes that you just don't really care about. And I get it because these ones can be tedious and there's usually some sort of like emotion added to them, which is why they often sit for longer than other things. My tip for this one is to just get rid of a few things. You don't need to get every photo into an album or categorize every trophy you've ever received. Instead, just find a couple random stuffed animals that you don't know where they came from, or some finger paintings that you don't know what year they came from or who did them. Or let's say you're struggling to let go of like all the china that your aunt left you when she died a few years ago and you're really not sure what to do with it. But she also left you an entire box of salt and pepper shakers. And really, you know deep down, you don't care about those salt and pepper shakers. Perfect. Let's start there. Get rid of those. The rest we can deal with later. You don't need to do this entire category in one sitting. You don't even need to get it done in 1 year. Obviously, I don't encourage food waste or tossing food you're actually going to eat. But when our pantries or fridges or freezers get to the state where we can't keep track of the food, then this space is just no longer functional. And this is just gonna drive more and more food waste. Number four to declutter this year is food. With this, I suggest just focusing 1 week or 1 month trying to get down to ground zero or fridge zero or pantry zero. If you know you have a ton of snacks in your pantry, refuse to buy any more until they are gone, or accept the fact that nobody's gonna eat them and pass them on or toss them. Not only does this help the kitchen feel more organized, but it can save you money as well. The other day, Scott walked into the house with a random textbook and he said, is this your decluttering pile? I need to add to it. And I'm thinking, what is this textbook from? And it was from a course that he finished last year, which I completely forgot about because it feels like a million years ago. But he knew he was never gonna look at it again. Number five are items from an old job or an old course or schooling. This could be old uniforms, business cards, resources. Maybe you're a teacher and you don't need all the resources that you have in your basement. Old name tags. If you no longer need it for your current job or your current school and you're not keeping it for sentimental reasons, then it can probably go. I got a comment on a video recently from one of you guys who said that when she's decluttering her clothes and she's trying to figure out what ones she wears and what she doesn't wear, she just stops doing laundry for a couple of weeks. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, the items that are in the back of the drawers or the bottom of the closet that haven't been worn, those are obviously the items that can probably go because you probably don't wear them. And I love this idea. And number 6 on today's list are clothes that are not being worn. This could be your clothes or clothes of anyone in your household. And if the thought of not doing laundry stresses you right out, then I do have a video that pertains to this, and I think it's called the reach test, if you want to check it out. I know very few people in North America right now who are not complaining about the cost of things. So if you have any appetite for making quick cash, then this one is for you. Number 7 to declutter is anything that you can sell. Even if you only have 1 or 2 things that you've been hanging on to because you know you can get money for them, then make this the year you get rid of them. Our selling of items has really slowed down over the last couple of years, but I still love when I can make a quick $50 from something I'm not even using. I could create a list of just kitchen items to declutter in this year, which I will be doing in the new year. However, there are some very common things that we always see time and time again in kitchens, and one of them are large kitchen utensils. So not forks and knives, but like big spatulas and things that you use for cooking and for serving. So I'm talking about having 3 soup ladles when you only actually make soup twice a year, or having 3 garlic presses or 6 spatulas. Kitchen utensils are so hard to keep organized when you have too many. If you have the capacity for it, taking everything out and laying everything down by category so you can take an inventory of what you own is amazing and extremely effective. But if the thought of that makes you absolutely miserable, then just even skimming off the top, 6 things that you know you've never really loved and just letting them go. Don't organize, only move. That is the acronym for doom piles, which many of you have probably heard of before. Doom piles are those piles of random things that we move around but never actually deal with. So we may ever make the decision whether items need to be tossed or donated or put away or fixed or washed or burned in the backyard. And these piles can sometimes take over our lives, which is why they are number 9 on things to declutter in 2026. These could be small piles on your kitchen counter or your bedroom dresser, or they could be bigger piles in the corner of your garage or in your basement storage area. If these seem overwhelming to you, just focusing on just doom piles for a month, that is your only focus, or even just one doom pile for an entire month could just be one focus. Now, I consider myself pretty organized, but I have spent the last 6 months trying to figure out where the Tupperware is to go with this lid. I'm blaming Scott. I think he must have taken it to work and it is dying a slow death in his car trunk or something. Category number 10 to declutter are Tupperware or water bottles with no lids, or lids with no bottoms. We all have them, zero shame, but getting rid of them instantly levels up our kitchens and makes them feel more organized. So let's let them go. We were at the mall recently and we saw this box, which was in our shoe store, which I think the shoe store was the shoe company. And it's a program that collects old, gently used shoes. I don't know the details of this program specifically, but I fully support decluttering shoes that nobody is wearing, which is number 11 on my list today. Just like clothes, if nobody is wearing them, let them go. If the thought of digging through your shoes sounds like your living nightmare, then again, let's skim off the top. Even if we know you realistically don't wear high heels anymore and there's really no point keeping them, if the thought of getting rid of all of them stresses you out, let's not. Let's just get rid of 3 or 4 pair. Pick the 3 or 4 that you know you won't wear and that you're never really in love with anywhere, and let them go. Just that simple act will create momentum to keep us moving forward and keep us going. The new year is the perfect time of year for this one because you're wrapping up Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving. And typically in a lot of houses, these holidays include a lot of seasonal decor. Number 12 to declutter is excess seasonal decor. If you have a bin of St. Patrick's Day decor that has not seen the day of light since March 2016, then it's probably time to let it go. Or if this past holidays, you only took out 5 of your 8 Christmas bins, maybe some of that can go. And typically, a lot of times with this seasonal decor stuff, they can be kind of bulky items. So even just getting rid of 4 or 5 things can sometimes make a big difference in your storage area. 3 out of 4 people in our family wear glasses, eyeglasses and contacts. So this is a big category for us. So if you're in the same boat, I totally get it. Number 13 to declutter this year are sunglasses or eyeglasses. And even in families where no one wears glasses, we have seen so many households where there are so many sunglasses, more than any average family could even keep track of. And I recently mentioned in a video that when we were at the store last time, I think it was Lens Crafters, I asked the optician about this, and they do accept old glasses. And then from there, the Lions Club picks them up and distributes them around the world to people who need them. So if you have an extra pair, but you're not sure what to do with them, talk to your local eye store because they probably will take them. My husband Scott has always loved sports, and one of the things he played when we first met was ball hockey. However, about 7 years ago, he had to finally give it up. If you know anything about ball hockey, it is definitely a young man's sport. So he stopped playing ball hockey, but I know for him, it took a while to fully let go of all the items associated with it. So the actual balls, his running shoes, the jerseys, all of it. Number 14 are items from old hobbies. And I know these ones can be tricky because it feels like it's sort of like the end of an era. But if you haven't gone fishing in 10 years and you have 5 fishing poles in your garage, it might be time to reassess that. And if you're really struggling with this one, remember, this doesn't mean that you will never do that sport or hobby again. But if you're hanging on to 6 totes worth of scuba diving gear just in case you ever scuba dive again, then it might be something worth considering. As we all know, where people work and how they work has changed dramatically since 2019, and changed again and then changed again, which for a lot of people means that their office setup has moved from the home to the office, to the office, to the home. Sometimes it's half and half. So item number 15 to declutter are excess office supplies. These might be items that have just all ended up in your house and there's just way too many of them. It might be items that just haven't made their way back into the office. It could be file folders, paper, staples, staplers, paper clips, highlighters, any of it. If there is too much or you're never going to use it, let's pass it on. When I first started making lunches, school lunches for the kids, I remember being so excited about using these little tiny like character forks that you could stick like in their sandwiches or in their little chunks of melon in their lunch. And I think I remember even driving to the next town to buy them because I was so pumped to use them. I'm so pumped to have them. And then I started using them and realizing, wow, like I stressed the entire day they were going to choke on them or lose them. Or I would spend 5 minutes washing them every night and then losing them in like the drying rack in the sink. And it just added to the chaos of every single morning. And I remember thinking, what am I doing with my life? And I don't think I lasted a month using them. Number 16 to declutter are useless kitchen gadgets. Now, we all have a random like chopper or something that we just love to use. That's great. But I'm talking about the useless kitchen gadgets that we got sucked into by this like really persuasive Facebook ad, or we got pressured into buying from a friend and it has just sat collecting dust in our kitchen. Get them out of your kitchen and out of our lives. My sister-in-law is so generous when it comes to passing along my niece's clothes to our daughter Annie Rose, which makes up 90% of her wardrobe. However, over the many years that we've been receiving these hand-me-downs, let's say probably 50 boxes or bags worth of stuff, I don't think I have ever kept every single item. We open it up, we choose the items that fit her, that she loves, that we need, that work for us, and then we pass along the rest. Number 17 to declutter are hand-me-downs that you don't want or do not need. You don't need to keep everything that people give you. Let go of the guilt and let the clutter go. One of my very first clients, she's super funny and hilarious. And I remember when we first started working together, when we were reviewing items, she would often respond with, oh, well, that was really expensive. Or, ooh, that's really pricey. And like, it was so much that it got to be a running joke. But that was just her initial reaction to so many things. And honestly, I'm not immune to this myself. But number 18 are items that we're keeping just because they were expensive and cost a lot of money or cost somebody a lot of money. If this one is hard for you, I challenge you to look at this same item and tell yourself it cost $10. Would you still care about it? Would you still hang on to it if it was only worth $5 or $10? Within the last year, I have brought home so many pieces of furniture that are half broken, or there's a leg missing, or the top needs to be completely resanded, and they're not in good enough condition to donate them. But at the same time, it just irked me to just put them in the landfill because I knew somebody could fix them. I had zero intentions of repairing them. I have zero skills and zero motivation to do furniture repairs. It is not my thing. However, I knew people would. Every time I posted them for free on Facebook Marketplace or on our Buy Nothing group, and they would get picked up within days, usually within hours. Number 19 to declutter in 2026 are items that are broken, but that you are never going to fix. Some other super common ones are like musical instruments, electronics, sports equipment, jewelry, picture frames. If you own something that you know is broken, but it's been sitting there and you know it can be repaired, but you just realistically aren't going to do it, let's pass it on and let someone else fix it. A couple of probably years ago, I was trying to simplify our morning routines, in particular for our youngest, Annie Rose, who's 7. She is just not a morning person, and mornings are sort of a nightmare with her. It's just like always been a struggle. So I came up with all these to-do systems of trying to make it easier, and one of the things included having a little jar of hair elastics in our main floor bathroom, thinking, okay, I'm gonna do her hair area, and it's gonna be amazing, and it's gonna make our lives so much better. However, it did not work out as planned. It honestly made our mornings probably more convoluted and more confusing and more stressful. However, even after the jar was empty and we hadn't touched it for months and months and months, I left the jar in there. It's like I couldn't let it go that my plan had failed. And I think this is common for a lot of people. Number 20 are items related to our failures. So these could be big things, like you spent $600 on dog supplies because you adopted a rescue, but then ended up not really working out and you had to pass the dog to someone else. Or maybe you invested $1,000 into equipment to do a podcast, but you realized, oh my gosh, I actually hate talking to people. Or it could be something super small, like using a jar to try to make your mornings more organized in your bathroom. As humans, I think it's sometimes hard for us to let go of items that we see or saw as a failure. But in my experience, hanging on to these items does not help me move forward, and I think actually holds me back. A few weeks ago, I was desperately looking for a twin size duvet secondhand for our daughter, Annie Rose, and I could not find anything. And all I kept thinking was, I guarantee in this town, there are at least 100 twin-size duvets that are probably in brand new condition, just shoved under someone's bed or in their closet or in their basement, just kind of forgotten about. And I just kept thinking, I wish someone would post it so I could buy it from them. Number 21 of things to declutter in 2026 are items that somebody else could use. And this one is extra important because very often the items that we just end up leaving in our basement or in a spare room or in the bottom of our closet, we will often leave them there for 5-10 years. And by the time we get around to decluttering them, they've sort of become irrelevant or out of style or no longer usable. And so they just end up getting tossed. Or maybe it's a toy that we just left in our toy bin, even though nobody was using it and it got kicked around a bunch of times, broken, and now it's just trash. If you have something that you aren't using and you think someone else in the world might love it, you are probably right. In one of my pre-Christmas declutter videos, I spent maybe 30 minutes going through a pile of stuff in our garage that was like 90% garbage, and I knew that. But it was that kind of garbage you avoid because it's like sharp or heavy or stinky or just kind of like overall nasty. But I did it anyway, and weeks later, this space still feels so good. Item number 22 to declutter is kind of large, annoying, gross garbage. This can be stuff in the attic, in your garage, a shed, stuff laying in your front yard or your backyard. It could be scrap metal. It can be annoying to deal with, and you might need a second person, but it is so worth it. This past year, I went back and forth so many times about selling my old iPhone, but I am so glad I ended up doing it because I got money in my pocket and it was less random clutter just kicking around our house. Number 23 to declutter are outdated electronics, but not just outdated in general, but outdated to you. So if you have an old laptop or tablet or phone or a VCR that you have not touched in years and it's just sitting there, let's deal with it. This is a great one to do when you have like an hour of concentrated quiet time, especially if this is something that you want to transfer files to a new device or if you want to reset it so you can sell it. And if you are not great with technology like me, ask someone for help. I know I could never have listed my phone without having Scott's help. I keep paperwork for 3 reasons. Number 1, if I need to file it to keep it for future reference or proof of something. Number 2, if it needs action. Or number 3, if I want it for some sentimental or keepsake reason. Otherwise, all other papers to me, I am done with and they can go. Which is number 24 today, papers that we are done with. There are so many examples. Income tax paperwork from 15 years ago, a scrap of paper with directions to get to your aunt and uncle's anniversary party, coupons for the bulk barn that are now expired, notes that you took in class in university in 1999, your daughter's homework from last semester. Whatever it is, if you don't need it, get it out. Our kids are 7 and 9 right now, which means we are sort of in that beginning stages of the downward spiral of toys. They still play with them a bit, but it's definitely no longer a huge focus for us. But I know this is a huge struggle for so many households, so I am including toys as number 25. And this is not just for families who have young kids at home, because we've been in so many households where there are still toys kicking around even though the kids are long gone. I know my best friend's mom was hanging on to her Barbies and there was like tons of accessories and Barbies and she was hanging on to them, but she ended up having 3 grandsons. And she got to the point where, why am I hanging on to them? And she ended up giving them to us for Annie Rose to play with, and it was amazing. Not only did it get out of their house, it made them have more room for all the tiny little tractors that they probably have a bunch of. If you have toys that nobody is using, it might be time to pass them on. In nearly every consultation we do with a new client, they will say something like, I've just never been good at decluttering, I don't know how to do it, or I've just always been really messy and disorganized. And one of my favorite things to watch is to working alongside them over a course of a day or a week or a month and watching them find their stride with decluttering, to find their rhythm. And almost always watching them get pretty good at it. Number 26 to declutter in 2026 is the belief that you are not good at decluttering. This one can often happen very sneakily and over time and with practice. And sometimes it can be tricky to spot because it's different for everyone, which is why I recommend staying in your lane, focusing on your story, your experience, your journey. You don't need to declutter at the same speed or style as your neighbor or your sister or your cousin. You just need to take small steps towards a clutter-free home that works for you. Just because you're sitting in clutter and disorganization right now doesn't mean you always will be. If you are working on decluttering and simplifying your home in 2026, I am so excited for you and I am here cheering you on. I hope something on this list speaks to you and inspires you to kickstart your next decluttering session. If you're looking for other ways to declutter this year, I shared a new decluttering challenge, which I will share right here in case you're interested in checking that out. Thank you all so much for watching and for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.